Welcome back to the channel, everyone, and thanks for watching. Today's video is a Honda Civic quarter panel repair. The customer tried to repair this one themselves and unfortunately distorted the metal and stretched it and made it very difficult for this repair. Enjoy the video and thanks. We're going to talk about getting out of your comfort zone and entering the fear zone, to the learning zone, and straight to the growth zone. These are the three stages it takes to get out of the comfort zone. And this is how you acquire success. And trust me, I know from experience about the fear zone. When I first started going to body shops and dealerships to introduce myself, I would literally sit in my car for 15 to 20 minutes trying to psych myself up just to go talk to these people. I mean, I was intimidated by outside ideas. I made up excuses. I was telling myself stories why not to go talk to them. And once I was able to get out of that, I was able to get into the learning zone where I was able to problem solve and figure out their needs, not talk about me, talk about them, ask them proper questions to get them to speak to me and have great conversation. And then that allowed me to enter the growth zone. I was able to expand my vision, grow my business, surpass certain milestones, certain little baby steps to get to the next ladder, the next rung of the ladder, and grow and grow and grow. And it takes time. It's not easy. It's very difficult, but it was well worth it. It has been well worth it, and I'm still growing and I'm still learning. And in each step, you enter back into the fear zone, back into the learning zone. Each step is different. And one thing I could say is, once you get to the next step, don't get stuck in the comfort zone if you want to grow and become better and really dominate your market. And that's really what I want to do. I just want to grow and bring brand awareness to Dent bearing throughout my local market and expand. And you cannot do that in the comfort zone. But there's nothing wrong with being in the comfort zone if that's what you want. If you want a lifestyle business, this can be great for a lifestyle business, but I don't want that. So guys, enjoyed the video, and as always, thanks for watching. Okay, so here's our Honda Civic quarter. Man, this thing is just stretched. The body line is actually caved in a little bit. I would say about 3 to 5 millimeters crushed in. That whole entire body line where it meets the bumper actually needs to be pushed out. And I didn't bring my porter power that day, so it really made it extremely difficult for me to get that body line out. So I had to use alternative methods, which I'll show in the video. You can see where the customer tried to push the dent out themselves and created like multiple different high spots, which really stretched this metal. And I just couldn't get those spots back to where they needed to be. It looked much better in the end, but it wasn't perfect, and the customer knew that it wasn't gonna be perfect where those stretch marks were. As you can tell, the bumper is scratched, there's scuff marks. Tried to buff those out, but we just couldn't get the white paint transfer out. It was actually embedded into the plastic through the clear coat. It's kind of a weird deal. But here's the process of us. Shit. Here's the process of taking the taillight out. Had to take the interior trim panel out, and there was a sound deadener inside the quarter panel. We got that out. Took the taillight out here. It's 4 bolts. And super easy. You actually don't have to take the bumper out to get the taillight out, but I did just that way I can see what was going on the inside of that bumper, where the bracket's at and the edge of the bumper, edge of the quarter panel meets the bumper, because it was in quite a bit, as you can tell right here with the light on there. There are some major crowns around the edge of the dent. Trust me, those were not easy to get out either. And the main thing is getting that body line where it meets the bumper back to where it needs to be. Once you can get that out, you can easily get the dent out and it won't oil can on you, and you can knock those crowns down and let it flow back into the center of the dent. And that's pretty much what I did here. The best I could without my porter power. But man, I'm telling you, it was very challenging. I used blocks of wood. You can see where I'm beating on the edge of the quarter panel. I'm using a rubber hammer. That way it prevents it from cracking really. And I used this the Fender Blowout tool to try to get a lot of that body line out right down in there, and it didn't really do too much. It helped a little bit, but it wasn't really effective and getting the body line to move out. But I made sure I used plenty of heat because I knew if I was hitting on that, it could easily crack it, and I did not want to crack the paint on this particular panel. So once I got some of the body line out, I started pushing on it, which was kind of a mistake because all it did was just really stretch the metal even worse. So if you can, make sure you get the entire body line completely out. And I wish I could have, but I didn't have my pour power, so it was just extremely difficult. But all I'm doing here is just moving the metal. That's pretty much it. This week so far was an extremely busy week. It's probably my busiest week I've had doing retail since I started the full-time retail in October. I mean, it was morning to night with phone calls and emails and customers and doing body shop visits for hell. I did 26 body shop visits on top of 3 to 4 customers a day doing retail dents. And I had 2 body shops that I marketed to the previous weeks asking me to go out there, which they were about an hour and a half from where I was, so that made it even more difficult. And what I'm doing for my marketing is I've got about a 2.5 hour radius of where I'm at is where I'll drive. So basically all of eastern North Carolina and part of Virginia, all the way down to the edge of South Carolina, or the edge of North Carolina where it meets South Carolina. And that's what I'm doing, and that makes it challenging for just one person. That's why I'm looking for help, somebody to help me in with my business. And when you're trying to grow your business and it becomes almost overwhelming, that's a good thing. That means it's time to hire, and that's what we're doing. We're looking for help. If you got experience, great. If not, that's okay too. But as you can see here, I'm using the block of wood on the edge of the quarter panel, and I'm just slightly tapping it with the dead blow hammer. That way it doesn't crack the paint, but I can still shock the metal and move the quarter panel back to where it needs to be and realign it to the bumper. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all we're doing here. I'm using the edge of the block of wood where it meets the quarter panel and that little flange. And now I'm just trying to knock down some of these sharp spots where the customer accidentally created, I don't know what tool they used or whatever, but they just pretty much ruined the panel, in my opinion. It just ruined it. But we worked it. I think I spent about 2 hours on this repair total time. That's all that I allotted for the dollar amount. I think we charged, I don't remember, somewhere around $400, not 100%. But that's all they wanted to pay because they wanted it to look better. And that's what we did. We made it look significantly better for the type of damage it was. So all I'm doing now is just massaging the back of the area and the back of the panel and getting a lot of the dent up and releasing the crowns as I go. Trust me, this is difficult. I use plenty of heat as always, and now I'm just working those edges of the crowns and trying to knock those back down and let it flow into the low spot of the dent. And I was literally hitting it really hard, and it just wasn't really moving, mainly because that edge of that body line where it meets the bumper is still slightly in. And I didn't want to use the hammer and block of wood too much on this because I was really afraid it was going to crack that paint. That's why if you have a porta power or if you don't have one, I highly recommend you get one, because you can just put the edge of the block of wood there and you can slowly push it out, and it may spring back in once you release it, but as you're pushing it out, you can hold that pressure there and you can knock those crowns down and it'll flow into the dent much easier than if you're pushing it and then try to knock the crowns down without any pressure on the edge of that body line. If that makes sense to you, that's what I would recommend you do. Similar to when you're like glue pulling and you got a ratchet strap or something on the tab and you're pulling on the tab and you're knocking down the crowns. It's kind of like a hammer and dolly technique. It's very similar to that. Yep. So yeah, we got a light block in the review, so no big deal. Let's see. Okay, so we're going to show an side view of me just tapping it down, Removing all the high spots, the little tiny pimples is what people call it. That's all we're doing here, just getting all the highs down and trying to straighten the metal back as straight as possible. What are some difficult repairs you guys done this week? Send me an email of some of your photos, and if you want to, I can post them up on the channel, do a little shout out for you, let the rest of the community know what everyone else is doing, which I think would be great to be interactive within the community of our YouTube channel. That way we can all interact. I think that'd be cool. But what do you guys think? Yeah, and if you have questions about anything, you can email me or you can text me or you can send me a message on Facebook or Instagram. I'll answer any questions you have. I've already had several people reach out to me and I'll always respond. And I always try to answer as soon as I see it. So you'll get a quick response. And here's another little dent. We're just going to show it in a time lapse. And we're just going to get the dent out real quick for you. Not sure what the heck's going on here, but what is going on here? Oh, so we're showing you actually how we push the dent in real time. That's what it is. This is real time. This is not a time lapse. So, yeah, enjoy this part. So this is the R4 cherry tip we're using on the Dentcraft 24-inch single bend rod, which I really enjoy this one for doing inside of fenders, quarter panels, and even doors. I think it's a great tool. I would recommend you get all 4 of the Dentcraft rods like this. They make I think it's 18 and a 24, and I believe they make a 28 or a 30-inch. I would get the double bends and the single bends if you can. They're only about $90 to $110 the last time I checked. And I would highly recommend you get the red R4 cherry tips or any of the red cap tips. They're great for pushing with heat, because sometimes the blue ones, the blue tips with the heat, they'll kind of mush up and stick. So that's why I prefer using the red ones, because they're much harder than the blue ones. The blue ones are good for really tapping down areas, and they're good for pushing as well, but not with heat. I would much prefer the red caps for using heat. And usually when I'm pushing deeper dents, I always like to over push. That's just what I've always done. And I feel like for me personally, it's much quicker to over push, and that way I can just get the dent out and then tap it back down completely flat. And I do this a lot on deeper dents. It's just the technique I use. I've always used it. I'm not sure what you guys are using. If you want to send a video and show me your technique, I can post it up on the channel and I can let people know it's your repair. Send an email to me. We'll make it happen. This channel is all about learning and helping each other in the community. That's what it's all about. So you can see how much I'm over pushing. It's starting to become pretty sharp. But there's a tiny pit in there that I'm trying to get out. So that's why I like to over push, to get those tiny pits out. And it's just much easier for me. And just tap it back down and it flows pretty flat. And you'll see right here what I'm talking about. This knockdown I made from center punches that you can get from Lowe's or Home Depot. This one's from Lowe's. It's a Cobalt punch kit, and it came with 4 different ones or 3 different ones. And all I did was just grind the tip down and polished it out flat. That's pretty much easy. Anybody can do it. I think I bought 3 of them for like $10, and they're Cobalt center punches. I like the grip on it. It's a rubbery grip, and I've had these 6 years now. And they're awesome. Highly recommend these. Super cheap, like I said, $10, $10 to $15 for 3 really nice ones. And you can have any diameter you want, because you can grind it down to whatever diameter you want it to be. I have a flat one, a really sharp one, and then one in between those two. Not so blunt. Just depending on what you want. So as you can see there, after I knocked it down, I mean, it's pretty much flat. And then now what I'm going to do here is take my rod and just clean up as much of the low as I possibly can. And that's pretty much it. Yeah. Yeah, let's see what we got here. Yeah, so it's all it is just finessing the dent and bringing up every tiny little micro low that we can see. And once I get it out to where I can't see anything with my light this close, I put my light much further away, and that way I can see even more of the low. And you guys already know that, most of you do. But if you don't, start the dent with the light as close as you can to get the lows out, and then put your light further away. And then once you do that, you'll see there's still low dents in the area. And just push those up. And while you're doing that, you're going to want to cross-check, look multiple directions while I'm pushing, vertical, horizontal, sideways, 45-degree angles, every angle you can possibly look, especially on quarter panels, because you really only have one access point on a quarter panel, and that's typically through the tail light. Every now and then you can get through the wheel well where there's access through there. So that's just the problem. It's very difficult to look the opposite direction because you really can't go from the door area unless you drill a hole through the door jamb. I mean, you could do that, but that's up to you and the customer. So that's why quarter panels and fenders are pretty difficult when it comes to cross-checking. Roofs, deck lids, hoods, doors even are much easier for cross-checking. So, yeah. You can see how flimsy that metal is. It's so flimsy, man. I mean, it's ridiculous. But it is what it is. I figured I'd show some real-time pushing because usually I just show time-lapse. That way you guys can kind of see what I'm looking at, what I'm doing. But it's difficult to really see what's going on unless you're actually there in person. So if some of you guys are first starting out, don't be afraid to take on the bigger jobs, especially if you're at a wholesale dealership, because they don't really care for it to be perfect, and they're not going to pay for perfection. They want you to do as cheap as possible. So that's why I recommend rock lots and small wholesalers and really small buy here, pay here dealerships, because they just want it to look better. It's for the people to get in the car and get out. So those are great places to learn how to do bigger dents. And the good thing about it is, if you're first starting out and you're learning your business as far as pushing bigger dents, you can take the time to make the dents perfect if you want. It's great for that. And if you take 8 to 12 hours on a dent, who cares? You're learning, right? It's not like you're out there to make a killing when you're first learning this business. You got to learn how to do proper repairs before you can go to the retail customer's house where they usually want it to be perfect. They don't always want it perfect, but some of these people do. And when they do, that's when you can really take advantage of the opportunity you have and make great money on some of these repairs. Just can't be afraid to take on some of these jobs. I have a Toyota Tundra coming up, and the bedside is crushed. And I told the customer, we can do a retail full pricing. It's going to be over $1,000 repair, and he wants to put a wrap on this vehicle. So I was like, okay, well, we can do the pay by the hour method where you pay $200 for the first hour, and it's $100 for each additional hour, and I recommend 5 to 6 hours is what I told him to get it to where he wants it to be. And then once I talked to him a little bit longer, he said, let's keep it around the $500 area, and I'll be happy with that because that's his deductible and he doesn't want to file a claim. I said, okay, great. Once we get in the first 2 hours, I'll let you look at the dent and tell me kind of what you think. And usually the first 2 hours is where the bulk of the dent is completely gone. And then after that, each additional hour is really fine-tuning the dent and getting all the little lows out. As you guys know, that last 15% takes so much more time. So that's what you got to relay to your customer or convey to your customer. Hey, boom, first 2 hours, we're going to get a lot of the dent up. You may be super happy with that. Or you say, whoa, I want it perfect. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. So that's why you educate the customer up front before you do the repair. And that way they know what to expect. It's all about meeting their expectations. That's why I really do enjoy the pay by the hour method for really big dents. But at the same point, I also would rather get the full retail amount because it pays better. And when I do the buy here or the pay by the hour method, I don't slow down on purpose just to make more money. I want to get it done as quick as I possibly can so I can move on to the next one. So I treat it just like I do any other down. I do it the same speed, the same quality, because that's just what I want to do. Because I'm so busy anyway. So another thing about when you become more busy, you can start raising your prices up because you really don't have time to do every single customer that calls you. So you can raise your prices up to where you find value in that repair. You got to know what your value is and what your worth is. So when you're first starting out, it's okay to charge a little less because you're just trying to get the work to get the business and get your brand recognition out there. And then once you get that going and established, and then you can raise your prices up a little bit to where fair market value pricing, and you can make more money on these repairs. And that's what I noticed. I've started seeing a shift in the past few weeks is that happening for me personally, which is kind of fun. I really enjoy it, honestly. Okay, yeah, I can fix your dent, but it's going to be a little bit more than normal. You don't tell them that, but you know that's just the way business works sometimes. You got to help people out. Always got to help people out, but you still got to charge fair market value. You can't price gouge people. Just can't do that. That's not good. That's not right for business. It's going to leave a bad taste in people's mouth. But let's say, for example, they took this particular Honda Civic to a body shop. What's the repair cost going to be there? Well, I would say anywhere from $1,200 to $1,600 easily. Why? Because they got to paint the bumper, take the taillight off, they got to paint the entire quarter panel, and the repair. That's over $1,000 repair all day long. So if I were to charge this guy $1,000, that's below fair market value, and he would have been tickled to death. But as you can see, there are some little waves in there, and I think that's mainly because I couldn't get that body line completely out, and I couldn't get the metal to flow like I wanted to. And those really high spots where he pushed that really stretched the metal beyond my repair ability and the time frame I had to work with. So, guys, I really appreciate you watching the video. If you have any questions or comments, call me, email me, text me, and I will hit you up. Guys, thanks for watching. As always, yeah, have a great day.